We can't focus on your health without talking about stress. Stress is so important. It's a huge problem in our society. Stress is really melting us down. Now, the truth is 80 to 90% of our medical expenditures are due to stress. And so we have to change our mindset. We have to change our reaction to stress. Now, here's what you need to know. Stress is not psychological. It's physiological. So when you think of stress, many people think it's psychological. It's actually the physical change that's a problem. Heart rate goes up, blood pressure goes up, digestion shuts down, hormones start to fluctuate, muscle fatigue. So what we have to realize, it's the physical response to the stress that's the problem. So there's two mindsets you need to know when it comes to stress. Number one, it's what you say to yourself. It's the positive self-talk that you have. It's how you perceive threat. Mindset number two, we have to have recovery if we want to manage stress. So there's two things we need to know. It's what we say to ourselves, and we have to have rest if we want to manage stress. When we start to mention stress, many of you are thinking work. And actually, the truth is 43% of the population considers work to be their number one stressor. But we've all heard this work-life balance, this 50-50 split. We don't like to use that terminology. We think that line's completely blurred. Many of you know that you're going to do personal stuff at work and you're going to do professional stuff at home. Here's what we want you to think about. It's called polarity management. It's called ebbing and flowing. We want you to succeed professionally. That means you're going to sometimes have to get out of balance. You're going to have to spend time working. But as long as you recognize, you got to catch yourself and also invest personally. So if you feel like, hey, I've gone really hard professionally, give yourself a break so you can relax personally. And if you're spending a lot of time relaxing and enjoying your personal life, understand that sometimes to achieve something in your professional life, you have to then devote some time and energy there. So what we want you to think about, this ebb and flow, polarity management, work-life balance, that 50-50 doesn't exist. But if you have the ebb and flow, you start to manage stress and you create balance in your life. As we start to dive into stress, we need you to understand a little of the science. And the science you need to know is called the autonomic nervous system. This is what automatically happens inside the body. And we have two sides of the autonomic nervous system. You have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Let's start with the sympathetic. The sympathetic is the gas. This is called fight or flight. And so you have some alarm, some threat, you go in this sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight. A bear comes in the door. You're going to run. But what if you think a bear is coming in the door, but it's actually not? We still react the same way. And that's what we're going to talk about. We spend so much time in the sympathetic nervous system because we perceive a threat that isn't actually there. The other side of the equation is called the parasympathetic nervous system. This is called rest and digest. And so if we don't have balance between both sides, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic, we get out of balance. Let me give you one example. Many people suffer from digestive issues. A big part of it is because they're not managing stress. If you're constantly in the sympathetic nervous system, your digestion shuts down. That's why parasympathetic is called rest and digest. So throughout this system, throughout the next couple steps, we're going to give you strategies, tactics to manage and balance this autonomic nervous system. We're going to talk about breathing and how it attaches to the vagus nerve and allows you to get in that parasympathetic nervous system. Here's what you need to know. Sympathetic is the gas pedal. Parasympathetic is the brake. You can spend too much time in either. The key is balancing both so that you have a constant state of managing stress. Remember, it's usually our reaction, not the stressor, that creates the response. To end this step on stress, I want to end on the two mindsets I talked about earlier. Number one, stress is what you say to yourself. My sister-in-law, she's a police officer in a large city. And if I was a police officer in the city with a lot of crime, I'd be extremely stressed out. But she's not because she loves it. My point is we all have different stressors, but it's how we react to those stressors. So what I want you to do is I want you to understand you have control over your reaction. Sometimes we don't have control over the stressors. So don't get so caught up on the stressors. Mindset number 2 is we need recovery. If you want to manage stress, if you want to do more, you want to be more successful, you just want to be happier and healthier, you need to add rest. We can have the positive self-talk, we can tell ourselves everything's okay, but at the end of the day, we still need rest. And so mindset number 2 is we're going to need to focus on white space, micro breaks, sleep. These are areas where we can recover so that we can do so much more. So, I mean, think about how cool it is. We have so much more control over something like stress that many of us believe we have no control over. So leaving this step, we want you to understand you have the control. You have the power to manage your own stress. You're the source and solution to your stress.